Never got into newspapers. Why would I? But if it held a comic strip somewhere in those pages, it might be worth the price. For the true definition of comic came with the greats like Peanuts, Dilbert, Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes, and the dark, twisted take on the world we have to put up with, The Far Side, by Gary Larson. Some of these names actually got cartoons. But sadly, Larson's work was never— wait a minute, the title of this video. Oh yes, people did turn this into animated content. In the year that gave us Forrest Gump, there was a certain special warming up people for Halloween. Gary Larson's Tales from the Far Side, a short anthology film. It pays homage to the horror films and cliches we grew up with. And it was an accomplishment of why we loved The Far Side to begin with. Despite The Far Side strips having speech bubbles, this is completely silent. There's no dialogue. The only time when anyone says something is during a song or narration. But it was directed so well it doesn't feel like it needs any. It also has music by Bill Frisell that suits the demented humor. I guess for a lot of people this was their introduction to Larry's single-panel comedy and Bill's music. It's funny, but I think the comedy goes off the leash sometimes. For example, one segment deals with a wolf looking back on home movies of him and his mate just before she was hunted down. It might get a laugh out of you, but it gets kind of depressing. And times it really does reap the horror cliches that it parodies. There's a segment about the lives of carrots. It shows them on their level and the way they become victim to a rabbit. It's kind of creative how they turn this cute little creature into a monster. I guess nightmare fuel can come from anywhere. The finale even has a kind of intense moment where a man breaks down on the side of the road, only to get a suspicion that he might not be alone. It's uncomfortably suspenseful. Until the ending pays off, of course. All in the name of dark humor. Years later we were gifted a sequel with Tales from the Far Side 2 that never premiered in the US. Instead it was only shown in the UK. Pity, because I always thought it was a lot more funnier. And still with that grim sense of humor. With highlights of a live-action cow playing an arcade game, a Ken Burns-style version of the ongoing war between cats and dogs, and a deer that fights a bunch of hunters Bruce Lee style. But the most bizarre, and if you know anything about The Far Side, you know that's saying a lot. It consists of a woman who dances with a taxidermied man to the song Crazy. I'm not sure if this is charming or sadistic, but that's the kind of stuff that gets burned into your ether that will come to forefront in your mind before you're receiving some kind of symbol for your recognition of achievement or marrying the person of your dreams. And at 2, that's where the animation streak ends. These couple of specials have fallen into cult obscurity. The Far Side ended in 1995, and there's been no attempt to take it out of retirement even to catch the online wave, as Davis and Adams have. Maybe that's not necessary because, if you think about it, The Far Side were the original memes. Larson had a talent for showing what if the other side acted like us, whether it was animals or the afterlife. He was ahead of his time, well, ahead of Seth MacFarlane's time. And if there's any possibility they're going to make this into a trilogy, is very much welcome. Larson, you magnificent bastard, I read your book and it had cows in it.